Hey, hello. So, you've been looking online and you fancy, a nice pocket knife, and you're looking at, browsing these sites with all this epicness on, like if you're in the UK, Heine Haynes or somewhere like that. And you're thinking, yeah, I want one, but then you've never used one before, maybe you're only just old enough or you just haven't got into it before. So, you're thinking, what's a slip joint? What's a lockback? What's a liner lock? The only one you really know is a fixed blade. So you're thinking, what am I buying here? You don't know. Okay, well, here's a quick rundown for you. I'm going to give you a quick demonstration of each one, the basic ones, the common ones, the advantages, disadvantages very quickly, so you can make your mind up. So one of the most common and traditional ones, the slip joints. This is the Magnum Juliet by Boca. Opens with some resistance and can flick back in, so it's not going to come open by mistake, which is one of the advantages of a slip joint. Most of the decent ones have a half stop there, so that when you're closing it, it's not just going to stop on your fingers. So, for example, it will stop there, and there's some resistance, and it'll go again. And so, basically, a slip joint is because there is this piece of metal in the back that's secured at the bottom there, but floating like a spring up here. And as the knife opens, you see it push out, and it stops at the half stop, and then it pushes out again, and that's what gives you the resistance, and it stops there. Now these are common in the UK because as long as the blade is less than 3 inches, these are UK legal because they don't lock. Different countries, different laws. Advantages: the blade won't likely come open by accident. Disadvantage: if you thrust with it at all, it's okay if you're cutting downwards, but it can close on your fingers. So if you're trying to whittle a hole or something like that in a piece of wood or whatever, there's a chance that it can go. So they're not the safest. But for things like UK carry, you just have to live with it because you're not allowed to carry a locking blade. But very nice that it doesn't open accidentally. So now the other type that is non-locking and less common, but actually probably better in some ways, is the friction folder. This is the Svard peasant knife. Really cool knife. So the way this works is, it's the simplest knife out of all of them. It just has 2 scales of handle, in this case, a kind of polypropylene or something like that, and a joint up here and a joint down here, and you can tighten them up a bit to make the friction greater or loosen them to make it lesser. And then you simply push on that, it pops up, and it's non-locking, so it's UK legal because it's within 3-inch blade as well. But the clever thing about these is that once you hold it and use it for a task, it becomes locked because your thumb is locking it. Now that doesn't class in a legal sense as locking. See, that I'm not able to close that now with my hand on it because I would have to be able to do that and move my thumb, because it's muscle power that's holding it open, so it doesn't class as a locking knife. So they're quite a good way to use a non-locking knife effectively. That's a really good little knife, that about 16 or 17 quid in the UK. Right, then you come on to the locking ones. So there's 2 very similar. There's the frame lock and the liner lock. The frame lock tends to be on a more sort of lightweight skeletal knife like this, where the frame itself has a little sort of spring cut out in it. So let me see if I can. So you see where my finger's tapping there, and then you look round. That whole section there is spring loaded to that little notch there, and which inclines it to try and bend inwards. But the blade stops that. But as you open the blade, that will pop out and lock into place like that. And so that is a frame lock knife. Now these are really popular because it's a really solid lockup. It's not going anywhere. To open it, you just use your thumb, push it back and slide it in. The other thing is as well, there's no resistance at all to opening it, so they really can be deployed really quickly. And obviously in a cool way, because we all know it's cool to flick a knife open. And yeah, that little bit of sprung metal there holds it, and you see I'm moving it, so that would be open, that's closed, open, closed. This is a really cool knife. It's the Schrade Mini Frame Lock, I think. Only thing I don't like about it, and this is a disadvantage to these knives actually, is they don't tend to be... You see, whereas this one springs shut like that, these don't, because there's no spring in them. It's purely, which means it's good to sort of, but I actually put this in my trouser pocket one time, and it went like that, caught slightly with the thumb stud there, which is what you use to push it opened slightly and tore my trouser pocket, so I wasn't very happy about that. Where the pocket clip is, that is referred to as tip down carry, because if you imagine it goes in your pocket that way and the clip sits on there like that, but on the outside. I don't know if I can demonstrate it. Well, you know what I mean. So if it would go over your pocket and you would just see the clip on, and so tip down carry isn't favoured by a lot of people because that can happen. So, but the cheaper knives tend to be tip down carry. This one, some have an option where you can actually unscrew these and change it round, but this particular one doesn't. But other than that, it's a great little knife. Excuse me. Now, the other one that's very similar to frame lock is liner lock, and this is another Schrade knife, which is a bigger one, and it has an actual aluminium frame on it, but inside the frame is the liner, and it works exactly the same, except the lock is in the liner, not in the actual frame. So these tend to be more substantial in the hand and chunkier knives. So if you want something really thin to go in your pocket, take up hardly any space, you can see how thin it is. Frame locks tend to be like that. Liner locks tend to be a bit chunkier because they either have a bigger frame around or they have handle scales on or something. But it's the same cool, opening mechanism, really firm lock up. Again, the only disadvantage for me is that they don't really have a lot of resistance to open, really. It is possible that they can come open like that, accidentally. I don't have a lot. I've never really had a problem with it, but it can happen. But they're very cool. These are probably the most popular sellers, I'd imagine, at the moment. It seems to be everywhere, these liner locks. Right, the other one, that is a really old traditional one. There's a lot of these about when I was a kid, is the Lockback knife. Now, it does have a lot of advantages, actually. This one is a strange one because it's a double lockback, so it actually has two blades. But just for the purposes of explaining it to you, let's ignore that one and pretend that it didn't, because it's the only lockback knife I've got. Right, the good thing about the lockback is it locks really, really securely in place, because the spring, exactly like this one here, it doesn't, it has that spring on the back, but with this one you have to actually release it by pressing there. So if you watch it as I press it, it comes up and lets the blade move. So like a slip joint where it's just done purely on spring power, this one actually is like a slip joint but with a lock. So they're not legal to carry in the UK. Yeah, you obviously can own one and that, but you can't carry it for no reason, just as an everyday carry, because it locks. Even if it had a tiny little blade, that would still be illegal. But if you're a workman or something and you've got a reason to, that's absolutely fine. And they're a lot safer because they can't close on you. You can't be a cool dude and flick them open because they have resistance. But the good thing about that is that they actually have that spring shut. So see, I'm just going to let go of it and then, oh, there you go. So they don't really open by themselves, there's no chance really. And as I say, this one's a double lockback, so has a serrated and a non-serrated blade. So yeah, I actually like the lockback. It's really cool design because it's got the only drawback really is that it is a bit more tougher to, it's not as silky smooth to open, but because of these ones have got like this kind of thumb hole in, you still can do what they call one hand opening, so it's not a problem. So I don't know why it's not more popular actually, the lockback, really. I think it's a really good knife. And then you get the odd strange one. It's one of my favourite companies. Again, I have nothing to do with them, just because I've bought off them a few times, and I've always had brilliant service and like next day delivery, is BA Blades, which are in Oldham in England, North Manchester. This is a cold steel blade called the Kudu, and this is, you occasionally get some really, you can't legislate for this, you're going to just find some that you go, what the hell? I'd never seen one of these before. So this one kind of opens in stages, like clicking, 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 and then it locks in really securely. And there's actually a ring on the back here. The way you close it, you have to put your thumb on there, pull the ring and push at the same time, because there's little cogs in the back, and basically this piece of metal here engages into those cogs when it's in the fully open position. It's a very, very secure lockup. It's just a weird, you're not going to see many things like this. The ones I've shown you prior to this are all the common ones. I just basically got that because it's, you know, novelty value. So yeah, slip joint, frame lock, liner lock, friction folder, lockback. Your education is complete, my young apprentice. I hope that was helpful. See you soon.